Who remembers the movie Inside Out? Boy, was that roller coaster of a movie. With joy, sadness, anger, and the likes running riot, it does make us wonder what the emotions would be like if they just happened to turn evil. Fear. First, let's turn to fear, the purple emotion proactive. Despite being considered to be something of a negative emotion, this has had the effect of making fear the emotion that seems ready for all sorts of problems. As such, it's him that is more likely to be aware of anything that may go wrong at any point in time. Voice of reason. Aside from being prepared for all sorts of situations, fear's cautious nature makes him the voice of reason. This is especially the case when Joy gets one of her zany ideas into her head. Caring nature. Finally, you'd find that fear is only how he is because he deeply cares for Riley. Maybe because he has a healthy level of fear after all. A good dose of fear is good for everyone, to be honest. At least they do not have to deal with his evil brother, Terror, all the time. Dread. This is because with terror comes paralyzing dread. As such, rather than being ready for any dangerous situation, terror is more likely to have you paralyzed in fear and utterly powerless in the face of danger. Sadistic manipulation. Another thing about terror is that his fear doesn't make him wary of these dangerous situations. Instead, terror is more likely to use fear to manipulate and control those around him. Pretty grim stuff. Paranoia. Finally, terror is very unlikely to be caring about those around him. Instead, he is more likely to build enough fear to isolate his victim, thereby rendering them without the caring support system that they need to get out of these troubling situations. Anger. Now that we are done with fear, we might as well take a look at anger intelligent. Despite his explosive nature, we have noticed that anger is intelligent. At least he's intelligent enough to know how strong his feelings are. Fixer. As much as anger is known for his explosive nature, we have to admit that this may be due to the frustration that builds up when he tries to find a solution to some of the situations the emotions find themselves in. As such, we appreciate that he is on board to solve problems rather than making them worse. Strong sense of justice. Finally, we can also acknowledge that anger may be prone to his outbursts because of his need to make sure that things are fair and just for Riley. At the very least, we're sure that he has Riley's back. Everyone talks about their need to control anger. At least they didn't have to control the destructive force of nature that is rage fury. Nobody wants to deal with rage when he gets in this mood because all he leaves is chaos and destruction in his wake, with little thoughts as to the consequences of his actions. Thirst for power. What you'd find is that Rage's fury is based on his desperation for control. That is why he'd rather control others instead of making sure things are right. This is a dangerous mindset because he would stop at nothing in a bid to control everyone. Anxiety. That's a lot of emotions in one little girl, right? Well, there's more. Here's a healthy dose of anxiety for y'all. Protective. One of the first things that anxiety would tell you is that she's there to make sure that Riley is safe from any danger, seen or unseen planner. Speaking of unseen danger, anxiety does all she can to stop them from harming Riley by making plans to tackle these problems should they arise in the future. Sure, this may be overcautious to a degree, but at least she is working to make sure Riley is safe. Caring. As much as some may think anxiety takes things a bit too far with her planning, we all know that she has good intentions because she cares for Riley. We all know that anxiety can get a bit too much. At least she isn't as bad as Dread. Catastrophe. The problem with Dread is that she takes her fears way too far. Everything is a world-class catastrophe waiting to happen, and as such, she is always in a state of fear and frenzy. Control freak. Dread is also a control freak who needs to be in charge of every little thing around her. Sure, she is only trying to stop bad things from happening, but this only ends in disaster despair. Dread's fear and focus on only the bad things in life has left her with a negative outlook on life. As such, her manic need for control doesn't come from fear, but it comes from the place of a killjoy. Envy. Up next, envy, love for beauty. As much as she is driven by covetousness, you cannot deny that envy does appreciate the good things in life. Anything pretty or beautiful is bound to catch her eye. Just make sure that it doesn't belong to anyone else. Aspirational. Again, she may be driven to want what others have, but you cannot deny that envy does set goals for herself and Riley so that they can meet their goals. Good follower. Finally, envy has proved to be a good second in command to anxiety, and as such, she has helped anxiety achieve several of her goals. She has even been on hand to reel anxiety in sometimes, and as such, she could serve as a good assistant to anyone with goals. To be honest, everyone needs a bit of envy in them, just as long as it doesn't spill over to malice. That's one dangerous individual covetousness. It's one thing to want what others have, and another thing to want to destroy others if they cannot have it. That's malice to the T. If she can't have it, no one can. Dissatisfaction. Aside from being maliciously covetous, malice is also never satisfied with what she has, because she is always looking at what others have. This tends to be the fuel to her destructive behavior. In the end, she will always be dissatisfied. Underminer. Finally, malice could never be a good follower, especially as she is prone to not only openly attacking people, but she is also not above going behind others to undermine their work. What a meanie! Sadness. Next up, we take a look at sadness, another one of the important emotions that are in Riley's life. Trusting. Although she seems to be the voice of reason, especially when Joy is getting overexcited about something, Sadness always knows that she can trust in the decision that Joy makes, especially when it comes to Riley. Intelligent. This trusting nature does indicate some sort of intelligence in Sadness. This allows her to deduce what Riley may need at certain points in her life. Empathy. Sadness also comes with a good dose of empathy and compassion for others. Having felt some of the sad emotions herself, she knows exactly how Riley feels when she isn't happy with the situation around her. As much as Sadness may have been a thorn in Joy's flesh when she was trying to stay optimistic, she should be over the moon because she didn't have to deal with despair, the draining emotion resistant to help. That is because, as opposed to the trusting Sadness, despair doesn't want help. All she wants is the attention and sympathy that comes with those that feel sorry for her and her plight. Self-destructive. Despair also stands out from Sadness because despair just doesn't love herself. As such, rather than using her intelligence to solve problems, she is more likely to resort to self-destructive acts that could prove to sabotage herself and others. Twisted empathy. In a twisted form of emotional display, despair is more prone to project her own despair onto others rather than understanding others' despair. This means that rather than helping people through rough times, despair is more likely to latch onto them so that she can make the situation all about herself. Joy! Let's close the list of with Joy, perhaps the happiest of the bunch. Cheerful. As her name implies, you are unlikely to find a more cheerful character than Joy. Always looking to make sure that Riley is as happy as possible, Joy is always on hand to bring happiness to the situation while also seeing the good in everything optimistic. Joy's happy demeanor always gives her a positive outlook on life. Sure, she can feel and acknowledge when things are not going well, but this optimistic attitude helps her put her negative emotions aside so that she can focus on solving the problems at hand. Loving. One of the reasons Joy maintains this positive attitude is her love for Riley. That is what runs through her mind when she does all she can to make sure that Riley remains a happy little girl. Joy seems like a delight, doesn't she? She's a far cry from mania, the toxic evil version of Joy toxic positivity. As much as joy is cheerful and a bundle of happiness, mania is filled with toxic positivity. This means that she is so compulsively positive that she doesn't have room for any other emotion. In the end, her brittle positivity will only push those around her away, delusional optimism. Being optimistic is great, but Mania's optimism is somewhat corrupted because her optimism is not necessarily based on reality. As such, you'd find that rather than fixing a bad situation, Mania would rather hold on to the notion that everything is fine, even if everything is crumbling all around her. Narcissistic joy! Another thing about Mania is that her joy only matters as long as she is happy. As such, not only does she suck the joy out of others, she makes life difficult for those around her when they do not reflect her own level of so-called joy. With that, we've had a look at what the emotions would look like if they were evil. Which character seems to be the most evil one to you? Please let us know in the comments section. Also remember, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow Disney fans. And there you have it, 6 inside-out characters flipped on their heads. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep dreaming and stay creative.